Have you ever stopped and asked yourself why some people seem to attract success, happiness, and opportunities effortlessly while others struggle no matter how hard they try? What if the difference isn't luck, education, or connections, but something far simpler yet more powerful? Your thoughts? Introduction. Welcome to this audiobook, How Your Thoughts Are Controlling Your Life. Before we dive into the lessons, take a moment and ask yourself a question. How often do you pause to consider the thoughts running through your mind? Are they lifting you up, guiding you toward your goals, or are they quietly holding you back, shaping your reality in ways you barely notice? Most people go through life on autopilot, reacting to circumstances, believing that life simply happens to them, but the truth is far more powerful and far more empowering. Your thoughts are not just fleeting ideas or random mental noise. They are the very foundation of your reality. Every choice you make, every habit you follow, every success or failure you experience begins as a thought. Imagine your mind as a blueprint. Every thought is a line, a shape, a direction. When these lines are repeated and reinforced, they form structures, the structures that dictate how you perceive the world, how you respond to challenges, and ultimately, how your life unfolds. This audiobook is designed to help you become aware of the immense power of your mind. We're going to explore not only why your thoughts matter, but how to take control of them, shape them intentionally, and use them to create the life you truly desire. By the end of this journey, you won't just understand the connection between thought and reality, you'll know how to harness it. You'll discover practical techniques to quiet the negative chatter, amplify positive thinking, and turn abstract ideas into real-life results. So get comfortable, take a deep breath, and open your mind to the possibility that the life you want to live is already waiting for you inside your own thoughts. Your journey to mastering your mind starts right here, right now. Lesson 1. Thoughts are the architects of reality. Let's begin with a fundamental truth. Your thoughts are the architects of your reality. This isn't just a motivational phrase or a cliche. It's a principle rooted in both psychology and human experience. Every choice, every success or failure begins in your mind as a thought. Imagine for a moment that your mind is like a construction site. Every thought you have is a blueprint. Some thoughts are like carefully drawn architectural plans. They are precise, intentional, and carefully considered. Other thoughts are more like rough sketches or spontaneous doodles. They can be helpful or harmful, depending on how you act on them. If you consistently allow negative, chaotic, or limiting thoughts to dominate, they start to shape the structure of your life in ways you may not even realize. Conversely, positive, focused, and constructive thoughts lay the foundation for growth, success, and fulfillment. The truth is, most people underestimate the power of their thoughts. They assume that life's outcomes are determined by luck, opportunity, or circumstance. While these factors do exist, they are only part of the picture. The driving force behind most outcomes is internal. It's the way we think about ourselves, our abilities, and our potential. Consider this. When you wake up in the morning, your first thoughts can set the tone for the entire day. If you think, "I'm going to have a terrible day, nothing will go right," your mind starts scanning your environment for evidence that confirms that thought. You notice the slow traffic, the spilled coffee, the coworker who's in a bad mood. Each of these becomes proof that your day is indeed going badly. Your thoughts, in effect, have shaped your perception of reality. Now imagine the alternative. You wake up and think, "Today, I will focus on what I can control and make the best of it." Instantly, your mind is attuned to opportunities, solutions, and moments of gratitude. You notice the coworker who smiles at you, the email that brings good news, the chance to help someone else. Your perception of reality changes simply because your thoughts have shifted. This is why I say that thoughts are the architects of reality. They create a blueprint. Every repeated thought, especially those reinforced by emotion and belief, lays down invisible tracks in your brain. These tracks become neural pathways, forming habits and influencing behavior. If your thoughts are focused on limitation, fear, or doubt, those pathways lead to actions that reinforce limitation, fear, and doubt. If your thoughts are constructive, empowering, and growth-oriented, the pathways guide you toward action that builds confidence, skill, and opportunity. Let's break this down with a concrete example. Imagine two people starting a new business. Both have the same idea, the same resources, and similar skills. The first person constantly thinks, I'm not sure I can do this. What if I fail? These thoughts create anxiety, hesitation, and a lack of confidence. They might delay taking action, miss key opportunities, or give up at the first obstacle. The second person thinks, I can learn, adapt, and grow. I will find solutions to the challenges ahead. These thoughts generate determination, creativity, and resilience. They are more likely to take consistent action, learn from mistakes, and ultimately build a thriving business. The difference isn't talent, luck, or timing. It's the blueprint created by their thoughts. Another important aspect is that thoughts are not isolated. They attract other thoughts. When you feed your mind with negativity, fear, or self-doubt, it tends to generate more of the same. Conversely, positive and intentional thoughts breed optimism, courage, and problem solving. This is why mindfulness and awareness of your thought patterns are so important. By observing the thoughts running through your mind, you can consciously choose which ones to nurture and which ones to discard. You might wonder, but aren't thoughts just fleeting mental events? How can they really shape my life? The answer lies in action. Thoughts are the seeds, actions are the water and sunlight. If you constantly think about your goals, visualize success, and imagine yourself overcoming challenges, you are more likely to take the actions necessary to make those thoughts a reality. The mind and body are intrinsically connected. A thought doesn't remain confined to your head. It translates into emotion, behavior, and ultimately results. Even more powerful is the idea that repeated thoughts shape your identity. When you constantly tell yourself, I am capable, your mind starts to accept that as truth. You begin acting like someone who is capable. When you think, I am unlucky or I am not enough, those thoughts form a limiting self-concept, and your actions unconsciously reinforce that belief. Over time, your identity is molded by the quality of your thoughts. So, what can you do to harness this power? First, become aware. Begin noticing your recurring thoughts, especially those that cause stress, fear, or doubt. Awareness alone creates a shift because it allows you to interrupt automatic thinking patterns. Second, practice intentional thinking. Replace limiting thoughts with constructive alternatives. For example, when you catch yourself thinking, I can't do this, consciously replace it with, I can learn how to do this and improve every day. Third, reinforce your thoughts with visualization. Imagine yourself succeeding, achieving, and thriving. These mental images strengthen the neural pathways that support growth-oriented behavior. Finally, take action. Thoughts without action remain potential energy. Action turns mental blueprints into reality. By aligning your actions with your thoughts, you give life to the structures your mind has been designing. Remember, this isn't some mystical idea. It's science and psychology at work. Neuroscience has shown that our brains are highly plastic. They physically change based on the thoughts we repeatedly focus on. Your thoughts literally shape the structure of your brain and the course of your life. Every time you choose a constructive thought, you're laying down a foundation for success. Every time you dwell on a limiting thought, you are reinforcing a barrier. In essence, your mind is the ultimate architect, and your thoughts are the building materials. The life you live today is the product of the blueprint you've been creating in your head for months, years, or even decades. The good news, you can always redraw the plans, and you can consciously design new structures, stronger foundations, and brighter outcomes. Take this lesson to heart. Your thoughts are not random. They are powerful, creative forces shaping every aspect of your life. Start today by observing, directing, and refining them. Become the architect of your own destiny, because the reality you desire begins with the thoughts you choose to nurture right now. Lesson 2, awareness, is the first step. If Lesson 1 taught us that our thoughts are the architects of reality, Lesson 2 is about learning to notice those architects at work. Before you can shape your life intentionally, you first need to become aware of the thoughts that are quietly shaping it already. Most people move through life on autopilot. Thoughts, both positive and negative, flow freely in the mind, often unnoticed. We react to situations not consciously, but automatically, Guided by ingrained patterns, assumptions, and beliefs we have picked up over years, these automatic thoughts can feel like they come from nowhere, but they have a huge influence on our emotions, decisions, and behaviors. Think about it. How often have you found yourself frustrated, anxious, or upset, only to later realize that a passing thought triggered the entire emotional response? Maybe it was a simple thought like, "I'm gonna fail," or "they don't like me." That single thought, though fleeting, can influence your entire day, your confidence, and your actions. Awareness is the tool that allows you to catch these thoughts before they control your life. Becoming aware of your thoughts begins with observation. Start noticing what you think throughout the day. When you wake up, what is the first thought that enters your mind? Is it encouraging, neutral, or discouraging? Throughout the day, pay attention to your internal dialogue. Are your thoughts helping you solve problems, create opportunities, and feel empowered, or are they reinforcing doubt, fear, and limitation? Here's a simple exercise you can start today. Take just 5 minutes in the morning or evening to sit quietly and observe your thoughts. Don't judge them. Don't try to stop them. Just watch them as if you were a curious observer. Notice how your thoughts flow, which ones are repetitive, and which ones evoke strong emotions. Once you become aware of your thoughts, the next step is to evaluate them. Ask yourself, does this thought serve me? Does it take me closer to the life I want, or does it hold me back? And this evaluation is crucial. Awareness without reflection is like noticing a fire without deciding to put it out. You can observe all you want, but change only begins when you question and choose which thoughts deserve your attention. Another powerful technique is journaling. Writing down your thoughts helps you see patterns more clearly. Often, thoughts that seem harmless in passing reveal themselves as recurring themes that shape your life in subtle but profound ways. For example, you might notice that every time you think about a work challenge, your mind immediately jumps to fear of failure. Seeing this on paper allows you to address it consciously. Awareness also helps you catch automatic negative thoughts before they escalate. Many people live with a constant stream of negative or limiting thoughts, believing them to be facts. But thoughts are not facts. They are mental events. When you are aware of them, you create a space between the thought and your reaction. That space is where freedom exists. You can decide how to respond rather than reacting automatically. Consider this real-life scenario. Two people receive the same criticism from a colleague. One immediately thinks, "I'm terrible at my job, I can't do anything right," and spirals into self-doubt. The other thinks, "This feedback shows me where I can improve," and uses it as a learning opportunity. The difference isn't talent or circumstance, it's awareness. The second person recognizes the thought, evaluates it, and chooses a response that serves them. Awareness is also about noticing positive thoughts. Many people focus on stopping negative thinking but overlook the importance of recognizing constructive thoughts. When you notice a positive, empowering thought, pause and amplify it. Reflect on how it makes you feel and let it guide your actions. Awareness allows you not only to reduce limiting patterns, but also to cultivate empowering ones. Here's a practical approach. Throughout the day, pause at regular intervals, maybe when transitioning between tasks or waiting in line, and ask yourself, what am I thinking right now? This simple check-in interrupts autopilot mode and strengthens your mind's ability to notice thoughts before they control your emotions or decisions. Mindfulness meditation is another excellent method for building awareness. Even 5 minutes a day of mindful breathing, observing thoughts without judgment can dramatically increase your ability to notice and direct your thinking. Over time, your mind becomes more disciplined, less reactive, and more conscious. And remember, awareness is not about eliminating thoughts. That's impossible. It's about creating conscious observation so you can choose which thoughts deserve your energy. Think of it as holding a magnifying glass to your mind. When you shine that light on your thoughts, you see which ones are constructive and which ones are destructive. Once you see them clearly, you gain the power to redirect them toward your goals. The key takeaway of this lesson is simple. You cannot manage what you do not notice. Thoughts shape your reality, but awareness gives you the steering wheel. With awareness, you are no longer a passive passenger in your own mind. You become an active driver, able to navigate towards success, fulfillment, and happiness. Start practicing awareness today. Observe your thoughts, notice patterns, question them, and choose the ones that serve your highest purpose. This is the first step in taking full control of your mind and ultimately your life. Lesson 3: words shape thoughts, thoughts shape actions. We're going to dive deeper into the intricate relationship between words, thoughts, and actions, one of the most powerful forces shaping your life. It may surprise you to realize just how much the words you speak, whether out loud or silently to yourself, influence your reality. Words are more than just a way to communicate. They are a bridge between your inner world of thoughts and the outer world of actions. Every word you use internally or externally carries meaning and energy that shapes the direction of your life. Think about this. Have you ever noticed how saying something out loud often strengthens the idea in your mind? For example, when you tell yourself, "I can't do this," that simple phrase triggers a cascade of thoughts, reinforcing doubt and limitation. Your brain takes words seriously. It translates them into beliefs, emotions, and behaviors. Over time, repeated negative words or self-talk build patterns that limit your potential. On the other hand, positive words act like fuel for constructive thinking. Saying, "I am capable of learning and improving," or "I have the power to overcome this challenge," activates your mind to seek solutions, notice opportunities, and act confidently. The words you choose are not random. They are signals to your subconscious, instructing your mind on how to perceive and interact with the world. Let's explore a simple experiment. Imagine a friend tells you repeatedly, "You're not good enough to succeed." After hearing this over time, you might start to believe it, even if it's entirely untrue. That single phrase shapes your thoughts about yourself and consequently your actions. You may avoid trying new things, underperform, or miss opportunities because your thoughts have been influenced by words spoken by someone else, or words you've been saying to yourself. Now flip the scenario. Suppose you repeatedly tell yourself, "I am capable, I am learning, I am growing." These words prime your mind to focus on possibilities rather than limitations. You start to notice opportunities that were always there, and your actions align with these empowering thoughts. Before long, your life begins to reflect the language you've been using internally. Words shape thoughts, and thoughts shape actions. This connection is so strong that many successful people are intentional about the words they use every day. They speak in terms of growth, possibility, and solutions. They avoid phrases that reinforce failure or doubt. Why? Because they understand that words are not just sounds or letters. They are instructions to the mind, and the mind follows instructions without judgment. Internal self-talk is only part of the story. The words you speak to others also matter. Communicating in a positive, solution-oriented manner reinforces your own thinking and influences the behavior of those around you. For example, offering encouragement to a colleague doesn't just help them, it also strengthens the positive patterns in your own mind. Your language shapes your perception and your environment simultaneously. Let's break this down further with a practical example. Imagine two people preparing for a major presentation. The first person says to themselves, "I'm going to mess up, I'm not ready." Every thought after that is filtered through doubt and fear. Their body language may be tense, their mind distracted, and their performance suffers. The second person says, "I've prepared, I know my material, and I can handle this." Their thoughts align with confidence, their mind notices opportunities to connect with the audience, and their body language radiates composure. Both face the same situation, but the outcome is entirely influenced by the words shaping their thoughts. The fascinating part is how subtle this process can be. You might not even realize the negative words you use internally. Phrases like, "I'm so unlucky," "I always mess things up," or "this is too hard" may feel harmless in passing, but repeated often enough, they form a mental blueprint of limitation. Your subconscious mind takes these statements as facts and aligns your behavior to make them true. Positive words work the same way. Even if you don't feel confident or capable at first, repeating empowering statements primes your mind to recognize possibilities and encourages behaviors that align with success. This is why affirmations and intentional language are more than trendy tools. They are practical methods for rewiring your mind and creating new thought patterns. But here's the critical insight: words alone are not enough. They are the starting point. When paired with awareness and deliberate thought, words can profoundly shape the actions you take. Think of words as seeds. Thoughts nurture those seeds, and actions are the sunlight and water that allow them to grow. Without action, even the most powerful words remain dormant. But when your words influence your thoughts and your thoughts guide your behavior, transformation becomes inevitable. To put this into daily practice, begin by paying attention to your language, both spoken and internal. Write down phrases you frequently use about yourself, your life, and your goals. Identify which ones limit you and which empower you, then consciously replace limiting words with constructive alternatives. For example, instead of saying, "I can't handle this," say, "I will find a way to handle this, step by step." Notice how your thoughts naturally shift and observe the changes in your behavior over time. Another technique is to create a words journal. Every day, jot down empowering words or phrases that inspire you. Read them aloud or silently to reinforce their influence on your mind. Over time, these words become part of your internal dialogue, reshaping your thoughts, actions, and ultimately your life. Finally, remember that the words you use also influence your environment. Speak constructively with friends, colleagues, and family. Encouraging, supportive, and solution-oriented language creates a ripple effect, reinforcing positive thought patterns in yourself and others. Words are not just instruments of communication, they are tools for building the life you want. So to summarize, words are the bridge between your inner thoughts and outer actions. They carry the power to either limit you or empower you. When you become aware of the words you use and intentionally guide them toward positivity and growth, you are actively shaping your thoughts, and your thoughts will inevitably shape your reality. Mastering your words is one of the most direct ways to master your mind, your behavior, and ultimately your life. Lesson 4. Visualization creates a mental blueprint. In the first 3 lessons, we explored how thoughts shape reality, why awareness is crucial, and how words influence thoughts and actions. Now, we are going to explore one of the most powerful tools for creating the life you want: visualization. Visualization is the art of using your imagination to create a mental image of the reality you desire. It's not just daydreaming. It's an intentional process where you picture your goals, your successes, and even your actions in vivid detail. This practice creates a mental blueprint that guides your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors toward achieving those goals. Think of your mind like a computer. Visualization programs your subconscious to understand your objectives and start working toward them even before you take physical action. When you repeatedly visualize a scenario, your brain begins to recognize patterns, anticipate obstacles, and identify opportunities, all as if the imagined experience were real. For example, athletes have used visualization for decades to enhance performance. A gymnast might close her eyes and mentally rehearse every flip and movement before stepping onto the mat. A basketball player visualizes shooting perfect free throws. Studies show that these mental rehearsals activate the same brain regions as actual physical practice, creating neural pathways that improve skill and confidence. This principle is not limited to sports. It applies to business, personal growth, relationships, and any goal you want to achieve. Visualization also taps into the powerful connection between emotion and thought. When you imagine achieving your goals, your brain releases the same chemicals as if you were experiencing success in real life: dopamine, serotonin, and other neurotransmitters that enhance motivation and focus. This emotional reinforcement strengthens your mental blueprint and makes your goals feel attainable rather than distant or abstract. Let's take a practical example. Suppose you want to give a confident presentation at work. Instead of just thinking, "I hope I do well," take 5 minutes each day to visualize yourself standing confidently, speaking clearly, making eye contact, and engaging your audience. Picture the room, the faces of the people watching, the sound of your own voice, and the positive reactions from your audience. The more vivid and detailed your mental image, the more your mind internalizes this reality, and the more naturally you will perform when the actual moment arrives. Another way to apply visualization is to create a mental map of your life goals. Imagine not just the outcomes, but the steps required to achieve them. Visualize yourself overcoming challenges, solving problems, and celebrating small wins along the way. This mental rehearsal equips your mind with strategies and confidence, so when opportunities arise, you're ready to act decisively. It's important to note that visualization works best when it's combined with belief and emotion. Simply picturing a goal without truly believing it's possible limits its effectiveness. Your mind needs to feel that the envisioned scenario is achievable. This is why it's essential to pair visualization with affirmations, positive self-talk, and emotional engagement. When you imagine your success, allow yourself to feel the excitement, pride, and satisfaction as if it is already happening. Many people make the mistake of visualizing only the end result. While it's important to see the destination, it's equally vital to visualize the journey, the obstacles, the effort, and the small victories along the way. By mentally rehearsing these steps, you prepare yourself for real-life challenges and reduce fear and hesitation when action is required. Visualization becomes not just wishful thinking, but a form of mental training that equips you to act confidently in the physical world. Here's a simple exercise you can practice daily. Find a quiet space and close your eyes. Take a few deep breaths to relax your mind and body. Picture your goal in as much detail as possible. Imagine the sights, sounds, and feelings associated with achieving it. Mentally rehearse the steps you'll take to reach the goal. Imagine yourself overcoming obstacles, making decisions, and taking confident action. Repeat this practice daily, ideally for 5 to 10 minutes, reinforcing the mental blueprint in your mind. Another technique is to create a vision board. While traditional visualization happens in your mind, a vision board gives you a visual representation of your goals. Place images, words, and symbols that represent what you want to achieve on a board where you can see it daily. This reinforces your mental imagery, keeps your objectives clear, and reminds your mind of the blueprint you're creating. Visualization also helps with problem solving. When faced with challenges, you can mentally simulate different approaches and anticipate the outcomes. This mental rehearsal reduces anxiety, improves decision-making, and prepares you to take confident action in the real world. Now consider the cumulative effect. Your thoughts create your reality. Awareness allows you to direct those thoughts, and words shape and reinforce them. Visualization amplifies all of these principles by giving your mind a detailed map to follow. It's like giving the architect not just the blueprints, but a 3D model and step-by-step instructions for building a life that aligns with your deepest desires. Finally, remember that visualization is not magic. It's practical mental training. The brain cannot fully distinguish between vivid imagined experiences and real experiences. By intentionally directing your imagination, you prepare yourself for success, strengthen confidence, and activate the neural pathways that lead to achievement. The takeaway is clear. When you visualize consistently, you are not just dreaming, you are creating a mental blueprint for your reality. This blueprint guides your thoughts, motivates your actions, and shapes the results you will achieve. By incorporating visualization into your daily routine, you harness one of the most powerful tools for consciously designing the life you want. Lesson 5. The power of belief. In the previous lessons, we learned that thoughts are the architects of reality. Awareness allows us to see those thoughts, words shape and reinforce them, and visualization creates a mental blueprint. Now we are going to explore a principle that ties all of these together: the power of belief. Belief is more than just an idea or a thought you occasionally entertain. It is a deep-seated mental conviction that something is true or possible. Beliefs are like the foundation upon which the structure of your life is built. If your beliefs are strong, constructive, and empowering, they support growth, resilience, and achievement. If your beliefs are limiting, negative, or false, they silently undermine your efforts, no matter how talented, hardworking, or motivated you may be. Let's consider a simple but powerful example. Imagine two people attempting to start a new business. Both have the same skills, knowledge, and resources. The first person believes, I am not good enough, I will fail. This belief influences their thoughts, words, and actions. They hesitate, doubt themselves, and avoid risks. Even opportunities that could lead to success are ignored because the belief has built invisible walls around their mind. The second person believes, I can learn, adapt, and succeed if I take action. This belief fuels confidence, creativity, and perseverance, and they take consistent action, learn from setbacks, and eventually thrive. The difference isn't luck, it's belief. Beliefs act as filters through which your mind interprets reality. When you hold a limiting belief, your mind unconsciously searches for evidence that confirms it. This phenomenon, known as a self-fulfilling prophecy, reinforces the very limitations you believe exist. Conversely, empowering beliefs focus your mind on solutions, opportunities, and growth, attracting experiences that validate and strengthen them. It's important to understand that beliefs are not necessarily based on fact. Many people carry beliefs formed in childhood, shaped by family, society, or past experiences. These beliefs can be deeply ingrained, operating silently without conscious awareness. You may believe, for example, I'm not good with money, or I'm just unlucky, even if there is no objective evidence for these statements. Yet these beliefs influence how you handle financial decisions, approach opportunities, and interpret challenges, shaping your reality in profound ways. So, how do you harness the power of belief to shape your life intentionally? The first step is awareness, just as we discussed in Lesson 2. Notice the beliefs that run through your mind. Are they constructive, empowering, and aligned with your goals? Or are they limiting and self-defeating? Awareness alone begins the process of transformation. Once you identify limiting beliefs, you can begin to challenge and replace them. Challenging beliefs involves questioning their validity. Ask yourself, is this really true? Where did this belief come from? Does it serve me or hold me back? By critically examining the beliefs that shape your thoughts, you create space for new, empowering beliefs to take root. Replacing limiting beliefs is not instantaneous. It requires repetition and reinforcement. One effective method is the use of affirmations. These are positive statements that reflect the beliefs you wish to hold. For example, if you struggle with self-doubt, an affirmation might be, I am capable of learning, growing, and achieving my goals. Repeating these statements regularly, especially combined with visualization, strengthens your new beliefs, creating neural pathways that support positive thinking and action. Another powerful tool is storytelling, changing the narrative you tell yourself about your life. Instead of seeing past failures as proof of inadequacy, reframe them as lessons and opportunities for growth. Belief is reinforced by interpretation. How you tell your own story shapes your internal convictions and guides your actions. It's also important to pair belief with action. A belief alone has potential, but action transforms potential into reality. If you believe you can achieve a goal but take no steps toward it, the belief remains dormant. Conversely, when your beliefs guide consistent action, they become self-fulfilling prophecies that create tangible results. Let's look at another practical example. Imagine someone who wants to run a marathon. They could think, I'm not athletic, I could never do it. That limiting belief prevents training and effort, and ultimately, failure seems inevitable. Another person believes, I can train my body, gradually build endurance, and complete a marathon. That belief drives their daily practice, shapes their mindset during tough runs, and leads to success. The difference is not talent, it's the belief that guides their thoughts and actions. Belief also has a profound effect on resilience. Life is full of setbacks, obstacles, and unexpected challenges. Beliefs act as the inner framework that determines how you respond. Someone with empowering beliefs will see setbacks as temporary, solvable, and informative. Someone with limiting beliefs may see the same setbacks as proof of inadequacy and feel defeated. By cultivating constructive beliefs, you strengthen your ability to persevere, adapt, and ultimately thrive. Finally, recognize that beliefs are dynamic. You are not bound by the beliefs you hold today. With conscious effort, awareness, and intentional practices like affirmations, visualization, and reflective journaling, you can reshape your belief system to align with your goals and desires. Over time, your mind begins to operate on these new beliefs automatically, creating a reality that reflects the life you intentionally choose to design. The takeaway from this lesson is clear. Beliefs are among the most powerful forces shaping your thoughts, actions, and reality. By becoming aware of your beliefs, challenging limiting ones, reinforcing empowering ones, and taking action consistent with those beliefs, you gain the ability to consciously shape your life. Belief is the foundation upon which everything else is built, the lens through which you see the world, the filter for your thoughts, and the engine behind your actions. In short, your beliefs determine what you perceive as possible and guide what you do to make it real. Master your beliefs, and you master the way your life unfolds. Begin today by examining your deepest convictions, nurturing empowering beliefs, and letting them guide every thought, word, and action toward the life you desire. Lesson 6. Replacing negative thoughts. By now, we've seen how thoughts shape reality, why awareness is vital, how words influence action, how visualization creates blueprints, and how belief forms the foundation of everything. But there's one obstacle that prevents people from applying all of this power consistently: negative thoughts. We all have them. In fact, it's impossible not to. The human brain is wired to detect danger, scan for threats, and anticipate problems. Thousands of years ago, this negativity bias helped our ancestors survive. If you assumed danger was around the corner, you were more likely to stay alive. But today, this wiring works against us. Our minds often exaggerate risks, create self-doubt, and replay painful scenarios, even when there is no real threat. Negative thoughts are not the enemy, they're signals, but if left unchecked, they grow louder and stronger until they dominate your mind, control your emotions, and dictate your behavior. And here's the danger. Your brain doesn't just record these thoughts. It begins to believe them. Repeated often enough, a single negative idea becomes a belief, and a belief shapes your entire life. The ripple effect of a negative thought. Imagine this scenario. You wake up late for work and think, "I'm so irresponsible. I always mess things up." That one thought doesn't just vanish. It triggers guilt, then stress, then a lack of focus. Maybe you skip breakfast, snap at someone in traffic, and arrive at work already defeated. What caused this cascade? Not the clock, not the traffic. It was the thought. Now imagine replacing that thought. Instead of, "I always mess things up," you tell yourself, "I had a rough morning, but I can reset and make today productive." That shift doesn't erase the mistake, but it creates space for calm, focus, and solutions. That's the essence of this lesson. You cannot stop negative thoughts from appearing, but you can choose to replace them. Step 1. Awareness, catching the thought. The first step is noticing. Most negative thoughts are automatic, slipping under your awareness. They often begin with words like, "I can't," "I never," "I'm not good enough." "This always happens to me." Start training your awareness to catch these phrases. One useful technique is the mental spotlight. Imagine carrying a flashlight in your mind. Whenever negative thought arises, shine the light on it. Say silently to yourself, "That's a thought, not a fact." This tiny pause creates distance between you and the thought. Step 2, question the thought. Once you've caught the thought, challenge it. Ask, "Is this 100% true? Am I exaggerating? Is this thought helping me or hurting me? What's a more balanced way to see this?" And for example, the thought, "I always fail," is rarely true. You may have failed sometimes, but you've also succeeded. By questioning, you weaken the grip of negativity. Step 3, replace the thought. Here's where the real power lies. Replace the negative thought with a constructive alternative. Not blind positivity, but something realistic, empowering, and forward-focused. Examples: negative, "I can't handle this." Replacement: "This is tough, but I can take it one step at a time." Negative, "I'll embarrass myself." Replacement: "I might make mistakes, but mistakes are how I learn and grow." Negative, "Nothing ever works out." Replacement: "Not everything works out, but I always find solutions and keep moving forward." At first, these replacements may feel unnatural, almost forced. That's okay. Think of it like learning a new language, awkward in the beginning, automatic with practice. Step 4, reinforce with emotion and action. Here's a secret: simply thinking a replacement thought is not enough. You must feel it and act on it. When you replace "I can't do this" with "I can figure this out step by step," immediately visualize yourself succeeding. We feel the confidence. Then take a small action that aligns with the new thought. Emotion and action lock the new thought into your brain far more effectively than repetition alone. The science behind it. Neuroscience calls this process neuroplasticity. Each time you replace a negative thought, you weaken the old neural pathway and strengthen a new one. Over time, your brain rewires itself to favor constructive thinking. And this is not just theory, it's measurable. Studies show that people who consistently practice reframing negative thoughts experience reduced stress, greater resilience, and higher performance in all areas of life. Identifying triggers. Negative thoughts rarely appear randomly. They have triggers. Maybe it's social media, a critical boss, certain memories, or specific environments. By identifying your triggers, you can prepare replacement thoughts in advance. For example, trigger a challenging email from your manager. Usual thought, they're disappointed in me. Replacement thought, this is feedback, not failure. I can use this to improve. Exercises for daily practice. Thought journal. At the end of the day, write down your top 3 negative thoughts. For each one, write a replacement thought. Over time, patterns will emerge, and you'll see your progress. Rubber band technique. Wear a rubber band on your wrist. Whenever a negative thought arises, snap it gently, not to punish yourself, but to signal awareness. Then immediately replace the thought. The physical action anchors the mental shift. Affirmation anchors. Create affirmations specifically designed to counter your most common negative thoughts. If you often think, "I'm not confident," your affirmation could be, "I grow more confident every day as I take action." Repeat it daily, especially when the old thought arises. A real-life example, consider Mark, who struggled with self-worth. His constant thought was, "I'm not good enough." This belief affected his relationships, career, and health. Through journaling, he became aware of this recurring thought. He challenged it by listing times he had succeeded and contributed positively. He replaced it with, "I am valuable, and I bring unique strengths to every situation." At first, it felt false, but with repetition, visualization, and daily action, his mindset shifted. Within a year, his confidence grew, his career advanced, and his relationships improved. What changed? Not his circumstances, but his thoughts, the deeper truth. Here's what's most important to remember. You don't choose the first thought that pops into your mind, but you always choose the second. That second thought, the replacement, is where your power lies. Life is not determined by what automatically arises in your mind, but by how you respond to it. The takeaway: negative thoughts are like uninvited guests. They will show up. You can't stop them from knocking on the door, but you don't have to let them in, and you certainly don't have to serve them dinner. Instead, acknowledge their presence, question them, and invite in a new thought that supports your growth, confidence, and success. Replacing negative thoughts is not about denial. It's about empowerment. It's about choosing the thoughts that align with the life you want, rather than letting your mind run wild with fear, doubt, and limitation. Every time you replace a negative thought with a constructive one, you are rewiring your brain, reshaping your mindset, and reclaiming your power. Do this consistently, and over time, your inner world transforms, and so will your outer world. Lesson 7, the habit of positive thinking. By this point, you've learned that thoughts shape your reality. Awareness lets you take control. Words reinforce beliefs. Visualization creates blueprints. Belief forms the foundation, and negative thoughts can be replaced with constructive ones. But there's one step that elevates everything we've discussed so far: turning positive thinking into a habit. Why habits? Because habits are the autopilot of your life. When you build a habit, you no longer need to rely on willpower, effort, or constant reminders. The action, or in this case, the thought, becomes automatic. And if your automatic mental patterns are positive, constructive, and empowering, Your entire life shifts without you even having to think about it. Why positive thinking must become a habit. Here's the truth. It's not the occasional positive thought that transforms your life. It's the repeated daily patterns of thinking. A single encouraging thought might brighten your mood, but it's the habit of consistently thinking positively that rewires your brain and changes your destiny. Think of your mind as a garden. Every thought is a seed. If you plant positive seeds occasionally, but mostly allow weeds of negativity to grow, your garden will still be overrun. But if you consistently plant positive seeds, water them, and pull out the weeds, your garden flourishes. Habits ensure that positivity is planted automatically, day after day. The science of habit and positivity. Neuroscience shows that repeated behaviors and repeated thoughts create neural pathways. The more you travel a pathway, the stronger it becomes. This is why negative thinking often feels automatic. You've reinforced it unconsciously over years, but here's the empowering part. You can build new pathways. By intentionally practicing positive thinking daily, you train your brain until positivity becomes the default mode. Psychologists call this neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself. It doesn't happen overnight, but with consistent practice, your brain begins to favor optimism, resilience, and constructive thinking without effort. Step 1. Start small and consistent. Positive thinking as a habit doesn't mean forcing yourself to be cheerful all the time. It means training your mind to return to constructive, empowering thoughts naturally. Start small. For example, each morning think of 3 things you're grateful for. When faced with a challenge, ask, what's one good thing I can focus on right now? End your day by reflecting on one positive experience that happened. These small practices, repeated daily, lay the foundation of a positive thinking habit. Step 2. Anchor positivity to triggers. Habits are built by attaching them to triggers. For instance, every time you check your phone, remind yourself of one thing you're grateful for. Every time you walk through a doorway, silently say, I am stepping into opportunity. Every time you face a setback, ask, what can I learn from this? By tying positivity to everyday triggers, you train your mind to respond automatically with constructive thoughts. Step 3. Replace the default what if with even if. Negative thinking often comes in the form of what if questions. What if I fail? What if they reject me? What if it goes wrong? Train yourself to replace what if with even if. Even if I fail, I'll learn and grow stronger. Even if they reject me, I remain valuable and worthy. Even if it goes wrong, I'll find another way. This simple shift builds resilience and makes positivity a natural reflex. Step 4. Surround yourself with positive inputs. Your environment shapes your thoughts. If you constantly consume negative news, toxic conversations, or self-critical content, your mind will lean toward negativity. To build the habit of positive thinking, curate your environment. Read uplifting books, listen to motivational content. Spend time with people who encourage and inspire you. Limit exposure to negativity where possible. Your brain absorbs what it's exposed to. Surround it with positivity, and it will reflect positivity. Step 5. Use language to reinforce habit. Remember from Lesson 3, words shape thoughts, and thoughts shape actions. Make a conscious habit of using positive language. Instead of saying, I have to, say, I get to. Instead of, this is impossible, say, this is a challenge and challenges help me grow. Over time, your words will naturally shift your mindset. The compound effect of positivity. Positive thinking, practiced as a habit, doesn't just make you feel good, it compounds. A single positive thought influences your mood, which shapes your actions, which affect your results, which reinforce your beliefs. Each day you practice, you create a cycle of growth that gets stronger over time. For example, imagine someone who practices daily gratitude. At first, it feels simple, but as weeks pass, they notice they are less stressed, more focused on opportunities, and more resilient during challenges. That resilience leads to better performance at work, which creates new opportunities, which fuels more gratitude. This is the power of compounding positivity. Practical daily routine for positive thinking. Here's a routine you can adopt. Morning, gratitude. Write down 3 things you're grateful for. Midday, awareness. Pause once to check your thoughts. Replace one negative thought with a constructive one. Evening, reflection. Journal. One positive moment from the day and one lesson learned. Weekly, visualization. Spend 10 minutes visualizing your goals with emotion and detail. This simple routine creates a rhythm of positivity that over time becomes second nature. A story to inspire. Consider Sarah, who struggled with anxiety and self-doubt. Her thoughts were dominated by negativity. I'm not capable. I'm always behind. Nothing ever works out. She decided to practice the habit of positive thinking. Each morning, she wrote 3 gratitudes. Each evening, she reflected on one win, no matter how small. She replaced her what-if fears with even-if affirmations. At first, nothing seemed to change, but after weeks, she noticed she felt calmer, more focused, and more resilient. Within months, her work improved, her relationships deepened, and her sense of self-worth grew. Her circumstances hadn't changed overnight. Her thoughts had, and once her thoughts changed, her life followed. The deeper truth. Positive thinking as a habit is not about ignoring reality. It's not pretending everything is fine when it isn't. It's about choosing a perspective that empowers you to act, grow, and persevere no matter what reality looks like. When positivity becomes your mental default, setbacks no longer defeat you. They teach you. Challenges no longer paralyze you. They strengthen you. Life no longer feels like it's happening to you. It feels like it's happening for you. The takeaway: the occasional positive thought is like a spark, but the habit of positive thinking is like building a fire that warms and lights your entire life. With practice, your mind learns to favor optimism, resilience, and growth automatically. And once positivity becomes automatic, success, fulfillment, and joy follow naturally. Begin today. Plant small seeds of positivity, nurture them daily, and watch as they grow into unshakable mental habits. Over time, you'll notice that you don't just think positively, you live positively, and that is the ultimate transformation. Lesson 8, the power of focus. If thoughts shape your reality, then focus determines which thoughts get the power to shape it. Focus is the lens of the mind. Wherever your focus goes, your energy flows, and whatever you focus on expands in your life. This lesson is about mastering that lens, because most people don't fail in life because of a lack of potential. They fail because their focus is scattered, hijacked, or fixed on the wrong things. The nature of focus? Think of focus like sunlight. When sunlight is diffused, it warms but does not ignite. But when concentrated through a magnifying glass, that same sunlight can create fire. Your thoughts work the same way. Scattered, they create noise. Concentrated, they create transformation. Here's the truth. You are already focusing all the time. Every thought, every belief, every mental replay is focus. The real question is, what are you focusing on? Are you focusing on problems or solutions, on what you fear or what you desire, on setbacks or opportunities? Because what you focus on grows. Focus on fear, and fear multiplies. Focus on gratitude, and blessings expand. The science of focus. Psychologists call this the reticular activating system, RAS, a network in your brain that filters information. At any moment, millions of pieces of sensory data bombard your brain, but your RAS decides what's important and brings it to your awareness. How does it decide? By what you focus on. For example, if you buy a new car, suddenly you see that same car everywhere. Were they always there? Yes, but now your RAS is tuned to notice them. Similarly, if you constantly focus on failure, your RAS highlights every mistake, every risk, every criticism. But if you focus on opportunity, your RAS highlights connections, solutions, and resources you would have otherwise missed. This is why focus is so powerful. It doesn't just change what you think, it changes what you see in reality. The cost of scattered focus. When you focus on too many things at once, nothing gets your full power. Scattered focus leads to shallow effort, half-finished projects, and constant distraction. This is why people feel busy but unfulfilled. They're pouring energy into 100 directions but never harnessing the fire of concentrated attention. Worse, scattered focus is often hijacked by negativity. If you don't direct your focus consciously, your mind defaults to fear, doubt, and problems. Left unmanaged, focus becomes a magnet for the very things you don't want. Step 1. Decide where to focus. The first step is clarity. Ask yourself, what do I want my life to grow into? Because wherever your focus goes, your life follows. If you want growth, focus on learning. If you want love, focus on connection. If you want wealth, focus on value creation. If you want peace, focus on gratitude. Without a clear focus, your mind becomes like a camera without a subject, blurry, unfocused, and wasted. Step 2, focus on what you can control. One of the most destructive habits is focusing on what you can't control: the weather, other people's opinions, the past, the economy. But true power comes from focusing on what you can control: your mindset, your actions, your effort, your responses. When you redirect focus from the uncontrollable to the controllable, you reclaim your power. Ask yourself daily, am I focusing on what drains me or what empowers me? Step 3, break the cycle of negative focus. Negative focus often shows up as overthinking. The mind replays mistakes, fears the future, or magnifies problems. But overthinking doesn't solve problems, it multiplies them. Here's a practical method: the shift question. Whenever you catch yourself in negative focus, ask, what else could I focus on right now that would serve me better? Example, you're focused on rejection. Ask, what lesson can I learn from this? What opportunity is now available? Immediately, your mind shifts direction. Step 4, train focus like a muscle. Focus is not fixed, it's a skill you can strengthen. Meditation, journaling, and single tasking are proven methods to build focus. Meditation trains you to notice wandering thoughts and gently bring your attention back. Over time, your ability to direct focus improves dramatically. Journaling helps you clarify priorities, removing mental clutter and highlighting what matters. Single tasking builds discipline. Each time you resist the pull of multitasking, you strengthen your ability to focus deeply. Like lifting weights, focus grows through repetition. Step 5, visualization as focus amplified. Visualization, which we covered earlier, is one of the purest forms of focus. When you visualize your goals vividly, you're concentrating mental energy on your desired outcome. The brain begins treating it as real, tuning your RAS to notice opportunities aligned with it. But visualization works only when paired with consistent focus in daily life. Imagine your vision in the morning, then keep your focus aligned with it throughout the day. Step 6, guard your focus fiercely. In today's world, the greatest threat to focus is distraction. Social media, endless notifications, constant news, all designed to hijack your attention. But if you don't control your focus, someone else will. Practical tip: create focus zones. For example, dedicate the first hour of your morning to intentional focus. No phone, no emails, no noise. This sets the tone for the entire day. Another method: batch your distractions. Instead of letting notifications pull your focus randomly, set specific times to check messages, news, or updates. Protect the rest of your day like sacred ground. Step 7, emotional focus. Focus isn't only about attention, it's also about emotion. What emotions are you focusing on daily? Do you replay anger, guilt, resentment, or do you choose to focus on joy, gratitude, and love? Here's the truth: emotions you focus on grow stronger. Focus on resentment and it deepens. Focus on gratitude and it expands. Daily practice: before bed, ask yourself, what emotions did I feed today? And what emotions do I want to feed tomorrow? A story to illustrate. Let me share a story. David was a talented musician but constantly struggled with anxiety and self-doubt. He focused on critics, competition, and every small mistake he made on stage. The more he focused on these negatives, the more nervous and paralyzed he became. One day, his mentor asked him, "What do you focus on when you play?" David replied, "I focus on not messing up." His mentor smiled and said, "That's why you mess up." Focus instead on the music, the flow, the joy of expression. David shifted his focus. Instead of obsessing over errors, he immersed himself in the feeling of the music. Slowly, his performances transformed. The same talent, the same skill, but a completely different outcome. Why? Because his focus shifted from fear to passion, the deeper truth. Here's what you must remember. Focus is choice. You cannot always control your circumstances, but you can always control your focus, and what you focus on becomes your experience of life. Two people can live through the same event, one focusing on pain, the other on possibility, and walk away with completely different lives. Focus is not about denying reality. It's about deciding which part of reality you will empower with your attention. The takeaway: your focus is your most valuable resource. Guard it, train it, direct it, because where your focus goes, your energy flows, and what you focus on expands. Don't scatter it on distractions. Don't waste it on fears. Don't surrender it to negativity. Instead, choose focus consciously. Focus on what you can control. Focus on what you want to grow. Focus on gratitude, opportunity, and possibility. Do this, and your life will transform, not by magic, but by the consistent power of a mind fully directed toward its highest vision. Remember this: your destiny is not just shaped by what you think, it's shaped by what you focus on every single day. Lesson 9: the law of consistency. By now, you've discovered how thoughts shape reality, how awareness awakens choice, how words and beliefs influence outcomes, how visualization creates blueprints, how negativity can be replaced, how habits of positivity transform your mind, and how focus directs your energy. But there's one principle that ties all of it together, the principle that determines whether all of this will remain an inspiring idea or become a living reality. That principle is consistency. Consistency is the difference between fleeting motivation and lasting transformation. It's the bridge between intention and achievement. Without consistency, even the most powerful thought loses its strength. With consistency, even the smallest thought repeated daily can reshape your entire destiny. Why consistency matters more than the intensity. Most people overestimate what they can do in a day, but underestimate what they can do in a year. They chase intensity, big changes, sudden transformations, dramatic goals. But intensity without consistency fades quickly. Think about going to the gym. One intense workout will not transform your body, but a consistent routine, even if modest, creates real change. The same is true of your thoughts. A single positive thought feels good for a moment, but consistent positive thinking rewires your brain, reshapes your beliefs, and redefines your reality. Consistency is the silent force behind every great achievement. It's not glamorous, it's not exciting, but it's unstoppable. The science of consistency. Your brain thrives on repetition. Every time you repeat a thought or behavior, you strengthen the neural pathways associated with it. This is neuroplasticity in action. The more consistent you are, the stronger these pathways become until they eventually form habits that run automatically. This is why consistency is more important than perfection. You don't have to be perfect every day. You just have to show up consistently enough that your brain adopts the new pattern as normal. Psychologists call this the compound effect. Small actions repeated daily accumulate into massive results over time. Just like drops of water carve valleys in stone, consistent thoughts carve patterns into your mind and eventually your life. The trap of inconsistency. Inconsistency is the silent killer of dreams. People start strong but stop when motivation fades, when obstacles appear, or when results don't show up quickly enough. Here's the truth. The results of consistency are invisible at first. Like planting seeds, you won't see growth immediately, but if you water the soil daily, growth becomes inevitable. Most people quit in the invisible stage when the roots are forming underground, but no results are visible yet. They think nothing is happening, but those who stay consistent discover that growth was happening all along. Step 1, choose the right consistency. Consistency doesn't mean doing everything. It means choosing a few key practices and committing to them. Ask yourself, what small daily thought practices will compound into the life I want? Examples: daily gratitude journaling. Replacing one negative thought each day visualizing goals for 5 minutes each morning, affirming beliefs aligned with your vision. Start small, but commit fully. Step 2. Anchor consistency with rituals. Rituals turn consistency into second nature. Tie your practices to specific times or triggers. Gratitude journaling every morning with coffee, visualization right before bed, replacing negative thoughts during your commute. When consistency is tied to a ritual, it becomes automatic. Step 3. Track progress, not perfection. Consistency isn't about never missing a day, it's about not quitting. Missing once doesn't break consistency, quitting does. Keep a simple journal or habit tracker. Each day you practice, mark it down. Over time, the visual proof of your consistency builds momentum and motivation. Step 4. Overcome resistance. Consistency requires facing resistance, the voice in your head that says, skip today, it doesn't matter. But here's the truth. The day you least feel like showing up is the day consistency matters most. Think of consistency like brushing your teeth. You don't skip brushing just because you're tired. Why? Because you know the long-term cost of inconsistency. Treat your thoughts the same way. Protect your mental hygiene with daily consistency. Step 5. Compound with time. The true magic of consistency is revealed only over time. One day of gratitude feels nice. A month of gratitude reshapes your perspective. A year of gratitude rewires your entire worldview. This is why consistency must be paired with patience. Growth is happening, even when you can't see it yet. A powerful metaphor. Think of bamboo. For years after planting, bamboo shows almost no visible growth. But underground, its roots are expanding, strengthening, building a foundation. Then, suddenly, in a matter of weeks, bamboo can shoot up over 80 feet tall. That's the power of consistency. For a long time, it may feel invisible, but when the breakthrough comes, it's explosive. Story of transformation. Consider James, who struggled with negativity and self-doubt. Inspired by the idea of thought control, he committed to writing 3 positive affirmations every day. At first, it felt mechanical. Weeks went by and nothing seemed different, but he stayed consistent. After 3 months, he noticed subtle changes. He reacted less to stress. He carried himself with more confidence. He began seeing opportunities where he used to see obstacles. A year later, people around him described him as a completely different person, calmer, stronger, more optimistic. What created the transformation? Not a single breakthrough moment. It was the daily consistency of planting positive thoughts until they became his default way of thinking. Spiritual dimension of consistency. Consistency also connects to a deeper truth. The universe rewards persistence. When you commit to a thought practice consistently, you are signaling to life itself, I am serious. I am ready. Opportunities begin to align. Energy begins to flow. Synchronicities appear. It feels as though life is meeting you halfway, but in reality, life was always waiting for your consistent commitment. Practical exercises for consistency. The 2-minute rule. If a thought practice feels overwhelming, start with just 2 minutes. Consistency matters more than duration. Accountability. Partner. Share your commitment with a friend who checks in with you weekly. Habit stacking. Attach new practices to existing habits. Gratitude after brushing teeth. Affirmations while commuting. Don't break the chain. Use a calendar and mark each day you stay consistent. The growing chain becomes motivation not to break it. The deeper truth. Consistency is freedom. Once you make positivity a consistent practice, you no longer have to fight against negativity every day. You no longer rely on bursts of motivation. Instead, your mind operates on an automatic rhythm of growth, resilience, and empowerment. Life is not transformed by occasional effort. It is transformed by consistent effort. Consistency turns thoughts into beliefs, beliefs into habits, and habits into destiny. The takeaway: if you want lasting change, don't chase intensity. Embrace consistency. Don't rely on willpower. Build rituals. Don't wait for results. Trust the process. Your thoughts control your life, but only if you practice consistently. One day of positive thinking is a spark. A year of consistent positive thinking is a wildfire. Remember this: Success is not built in a day, but it is built daily. The law of consistency is the ultimate key to transforming your thoughts into the life you desire. Lesson 10. Living a life shaped by your thoughts. We've arrived at the final and most important lesson. Throughout this journey, we've explored how thoughts create reality, how awareness awakens choice, how words, beliefs, and visualization shape the mind, how negative thoughts can be replaced, how positive thinking can become habit, how focus directs energy, and how consistency cements transformation. Now, in this final lesson, we go beyond theory, beyond practice, into the heart of it all, living a life fully shaped by your thoughts. Because knowing these principles is not enough. Practicing them sometimes is not enough. To truly transform your life, these truths must become your way of being, woven into every thought, every choice, every moment. The journey so far. Think about everything you've learned. Thoughts are not random, they're architects. Awareness is the switch from autopilot to conscious living. Words and beliefs plant seeds into your subconscious. Visualization creates mental blueprints. Belief fuels action. Negative thoughts can be replaced. Positive thinking can become habit. Focus directs energy. Consistency builds momentum. Each of these is a piece of the puzzle. Together they form a system, and this system, when lived fully, makes your mind unstoppable. The reality of thought-centered living. Imagine waking up in the morning with awareness of your first thought. Instead of drifting into stress or fear, you choose gratitude. Throughout the day, you notice negative thoughts, replace them, and return to focus. You visualize your goals clearly, believe in your ability, and speak words of empowerment. Over weeks and months, consistency builds momentum. Positive thinking becomes second nature. Focus becomes razor sharp. Life begins to align with the reality you have been shaping inside your mind. This is not fantasy. This is the inevitable outcome of living by these principles. Why most people don't live this way. Here's the honest truth. Most people never live a life shaped by their thoughts, not because it isn't possible, but because it requires awareness, discipline, and faith. They believe thoughts are random instead of powerful. They let emotions and circumstances control their focus. They lack consistency, quitting before results appear. They underestimate the compounding effect of small daily practices, but you now know the truth. You now have the tools. Step 1. Decide who you want to be. Living a thought-shaped life begins with identity. Ask yourself, who do I want to become? Not just what you want to have, but who you want to be. Because your identity directs your thoughts, and your thoughts direct your destiny. Write it down. Be clear. Do you want to be confident, peaceful, resilient, visionary? Your thoughts must align with that identity. Step 2. Align thoughts with vision. Once you decide who you want to be, align your thoughts with that vision. If your vision is confidence, you cannot feed thoughts of self-doubt. If your vision is peace, you cannot entertain thoughts of resentment. Ask yourself throughout the day, do my thoughts match my vision? If they don't, replace them. This is how you shape your life, moment by moment. Step 3, embody your beliefs through action. Thoughts without action are incomplete. Living a thought-shaped life means not only thinking differently, but acting differently. A confident thought must lead to bold action. A resilient thought must lead to persistence and difficulty. A peaceful thought must lead to forgiveness and calm responses. Your actions reinforce your thoughts, and your thoughts inspire your actions. Together, they create alignment. Step 4. Expand your circle of influence. Living by your thoughts doesn't just transform you, it influences those around you. Your positivity, consistency, and focus ripple outward. When you live consciously, people feel it. Your energy shifts, your words inspire, your presence uplifts. This ripple effect creates change, not only in your life, but in your family, your community, and even strangers who cross your path. Step 5. Accept the seasons of life. Even when you live fully by your thoughts, challenges will come. There will be setbacks, disappointments, and storms. But here's the difference. With a thought-centered life, you don't get destroyed by the storms. You grow through them. And instead of saying, "Why me?" you say, "What is this teaching me?" Instead of breaking, you bend. Instead of quitting, you rise. If a life shaped by thoughts is not free of problems, it is free of defeat. Step 6, commit for life. This is not a 30-day challenge. It's not a temporary experiment. Living by your thoughts is a lifelong commitment. Every day is practice. Every thought is a choice. Every moment is a chance to realign. And here's the secret. It gets easier. Just like learning a language or playing an instrument, at first it feels hard, but with consistency, it becomes natural. Eventually, you no longer have to practice positivity. You simply are positive. Metaphors for living thoughtfully. The sculptor, your life is a block of marble. Each thought is a chisel strike. With each one, you are shaping your masterpiece. The gardener, your mind is soil. Each thought is a seed. Plant wisely, water daily, and harvest abundantly. The captain, your thoughts are the rudder of your ship. Even small shifts in thought change the entire destination of your life. A story of living by thought. Consider Maya, a young woman who grew up surrounded by negativity. Her parents told her she would never succeed. Teachers said she wasn't smart enough. Friends doubted her dreams. But one day, she heard a simple truth. Your thoughts shape your life. She decided to test it. She began small, replacing "I can't" with "I can learn." She visualized her goals daily. She wrote affirmations. She stayed consistent even when results were invisible. Years later, she became a successful entrepreneur, an author, and a mentor. People asked her secret. She smiled and said, "I simply live my life by my thoughts." Her story is not extraordinary. It's proof of what happens when you align consistently with the truth. The spiritual dimension, living by your thoughts, is not only psychological or practical, it's spiritual. Every great tradition teaches the same principle in different words. As a man thinks, so is he. Your thoughts are not just brain activity, they are energy. They connect you to the larger flow of life. When you live consciously by your thoughts, you align yourself with universal laws of growth, creation, and abundance. Daily blueprint for a thought-shaped life. Morning intention. Begin the day by choosing your dominant thought, gratitude, confidence, peace, etc. Awareness breaks. Pause 3 times daily to check and redirect your thoughts. Visualization practice. Spend 5 minutes seeing your desired future clearly. Affirmation ritual. Speak words that match your vision. Evening reflection. Journal what thought served you and what you'll refine tomorrow. This daily cycle, practiced consistently, creates a life shaped consciously by thought, the deeper truth. At the heart of it all is this: you are not a victim of your thoughts. You are the creator of your thoughts, and through them, you are the creator of your life. Every thought is a brushstroke on the canvas of your destiny. Every thought is a vote for the person you are becoming. Every thought is a seed for the future you will live. When you live consciously by your thoughts, you don't just survive, you design. You don't just exist, you create. You don't just drift, you steer. The final takeaway: living a life shaped by your thoughts is not about perfection. It's about alignment. It's about showing up daily with awareness, replacing what doesn't serve you, nurturing what empowers you, focusing with clarity, and staying consistent no matter what. And here's the promise: if you do this, your life cannot stay the same. It will rise, it will expand, it will transform, because you are living from the inside out. So I leave you with this final question. What life will you create now that you know your thoughts control everything? The answer lies in your hands, in your mind, and in your thoughts. Choose wisely, think consciously, live intentionally. Because your thoughts are not just passing clouds, they are the blueprint of your destiny. Conclusion. We have come to the end of this journey together, but in truth, this is not the end at all. It is the beginning of a new chapter in your life. You now understand a truth that many people go their entire lives without ever discovering. Your thoughts control your life. They are not random. They are not meaningless. They are not powerless. They are the architects of your destiny. Throughout this audiobook, we've explored 10 powerful lessons: the influence of thoughts, the awakening of awareness, the power of words and beliefs, the practice of visualization, the strength of belief, the replacement of negativity, the formation of positive habits, the focus of energy, the law of consistency, and finally, living a life shaped by your thoughts. Each of these lessons is a tool, but tools only work when you use them. The real power begins not in listening, but in practicing, not in knowing, but in doing, not in wishing, but in choosing every single day. Your life will not change overnight, but if you consistently choose thoughts that align with your vision, nurture beliefs that empower you, and direct your focus with clarity, then change is inevitable. Like a seed planted in fertile soil, your destiny will grow and flourish. Closing statement. So I leave you with this. Your thoughts are your greatest power. Guard them, shape them, direct them, and above all, believe in them. Because the life you dream of is not out of reach. It is not a distant fantasy. It is waiting for you inside your mind, inside your thoughts, inside the choices you make every single day. From this moment forward, live with intention, think with purpose, and never forget. Your thoughts are not just echoes in your head. They are the blueprint of your destiny. This is the thought effect, and it begins with you.